Okay, so we're going to take a look at a classic children's story, The Little Black Fish, but from a totally different angle. I want you to forget the simple fable you might have heard. We're going to treat this story as a hidden blueprint, a surprisingly precise guide for how a mind discovers, grows, and even innovates. Let's dive in.
And this, quote, right here is the key to this whole thing. The author, Behrangi, didn't just write a nice little story about a courageous fish. You could say he accidentally created a cognitive map, a detailed diagram of the entire journey of an explorer, from that very first flicker of doubt to a final world-changing impact.
So that's the big question we're tackling. What if this simple story actually holds the code? Let's break it down piece by piece and see how it really simulates the full and often very costly process of breaking away from what we know and venturing out into the great unknown.
Now, here's the first crucial insight. Real exploration, it doesn't start with some big, heroic action. No, it starts quietly. It starts inside your own head. It begins with a dangerous thought, that feeling when the world you know, your pond, just doesn't quite add up anymore.
You know, the story describes the fish's state so perfectly. It's not just that he's sad. It's this cognitive strain that builds up before you can even find the words for it. Your mind senses a mismatch between your map of the world and the world itself. And the insomnia? That's key. It's a sign of a cognitive loop that just won't close. It keeps you up at night.
And this slide illustrates the massive leap in thinking. See the other fish? They're all focused on what you could call local optimization. You know, how can we make things a little bit better right here in the pond? But the little black fish asks a totally different kind of question. It's about the very boundaries of the system itself. Where does this stream even end? That right there, that's the true start of all exploration.
So this sets up the story's real conflict. And it's not just about a little fish against the big fish. Nope. It's a battle between two completely different ways of thinking, two fundamental modes of seeing the world. Let's break that down.
This comparison is just fantastic. On one side, you've got what we're calling pond cognition. For them, truth is just what's familiar, what's been repeated over and over. Questions, they're seen as a threat, a kind of sickness. And fear, that's a big red stop sign. But on the other side, you have cognitive exploration. Here, truth has to be tested for yourself. Questions are your most important tools. And fear? Well, fear is just another problem to be managed.
Let's get a bit clearer on pond cognition. Think of it as a closed system. It's designed for safety and efficiency, and it's really, really good at keeping things stable. But it's also brittle. Its primary job is to protect the current map of the world, not to update it. It mistakes we've always done it this way for this is the truth.
Cognitive exploration, on the other hand, is the engine of all growth. It's that drive that kicks in when our internal model of the world just doesn't line up with what we're seeing. It's the willingness to put up with uncertainty, with risk, all for the long-term prize of building a bigger, better, more accurate map of reality.
Of course, thinking like this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? The moment you voice a question that challenges the group's reality, well, that comes with an immediate and pretty severe price tag.
And the story just maps this out perfectly. After that quiet internal buildup, the explorer gets hit with his powerful social immune response. The group uses ridicule, they call you names, they say you've got strange ideas, and eventually they make threats. This isn't always pure malice, by the way. It's a closed system trying to protect its own stability by getting rid of what it sees as a virus.
This is the turning point. This one sentence from the fish is a declaration of what you might call epistemic autonomy. It's a fancy way of saying, I trust my own ability to see and understand the world. The explorer stops looking to the group to tell them what's real. Their identity is no longer defined by the group. It's defined by their own direct connection to reality. So once the fish goes over the waterfall, that threshold is crossed, and now the journey becomes a kind of curriculum. Every new thing it encounters isn't just an obstacle, it's a lesson that forges a brand new tool for the explorer's mind. So lesson number 1 comes from the tadpoles, and they represent a classic cognitive trap, one you see all the time. Total confidence combined with zero curiosity. They have all this authority in their little world, but absolutely no awareness that their world even has boundaries.
And here's the expert-level skill the fish learns from this. Instead of wasting time arguing, it just leaves. This is such a critical skill for any explorer. learning how to spot a closed cognitive system, and save your energy by just refusing to get into a debate you can't possibly win.
Now the stakes get way, way higher. Inside the pelican's pouch, it becomes a test of social psychology under extreme pressure. What happens? The other fish immediately fall apart. They panic, they plead, they even turn on the blackfish, trying to sacrifice him to save themselves.
But the little black fish does the exact opposite. It maintains what's called executive control. It keeps its own panic in check, it comes up with a strategy, it uses a tool that dagger got from the lizard, and it pulls off a deception to escape. This is what cognitive exploration demands, the ability to hold a complex plan together while everyone around you is completely melting down.
So when the fish finally makes it to the sea, the story enters its final and maybe its most profound stage. The original question, where does the stream end, has been answered, but that only opens up a much, much bigger one.
See, the fish is now in a world that is so huge, so dangerous, that just surviving is no longer guaranteed, let alone the main goal. So what is it that keeps an explorer going when the initial quest is over and the dangers are this big?
Meaning. The whole mission changes. It's not about personal discovery anymore. It's about impact. It's about legacy. The fish sacrifices itself to kill the heron, not just to save its own skin, but to take out a systemic threat to all the other fish. When survival itself is off the table, meaning becomes the thing that holds you steady.
What's so amazing is that the story refuses to give us a simple, happy ending. The hero doesn't return home to a parade. And that's where its cognitive honesty is just so powerful. This one line captures the tough, honest truth of real exploration perfectly. The benefits, they spread out. The whole community of fish benefits now that the heron is gone. But the cost? That's concentrated entirely on the individual explorer, who doesn't get to stick around and enjoy the rewards. And this is the final brilliant insight. The story of the little black fish doesn't spread like a rulebook or a command. It spreads as an unfinished loop, as an open question. At the end, there's another fish, a red fish, who can't sleep. Why? Because its map of the world has been permanently broken open. The old, comfortable answers of the pond just don't work anymore. So the story itself becomes this little cognitive seed planted in the mind of the next generation. Which leaves us with a final question we have to turn back on ourselves. We all live in ponds of some kind, our belief systems, our routines, our communities. The question this fable leaves us wrestling with is this: what's the boundary you need to question? What is your end of the stream?